Hello, everyone. Welcome to IMPROVATE's Defense and Cyber Conference. Israel is well known throughout the world as a pioneer in defense technologies. We are proud to present solutions that we know can improve the security of free nations. We established IMPROVATE as a platform for cooperation and business development. And in light of the situation in Ukraine, today's event will facilitate connections between Israeli defense and cyber companies, as well as military and defense ministry representatives from throughout the region. InnoSec co-founder and CEO Amit Koren is an information security and risk management expert with more than 2 decades of experience as a CISO, consultant, and lecturer. As the leader of a Storm cyber risk management platform, Amit researches and develops risk management methodologies for various verticals such as HLS, financials, insurance, telecommunications, high-tech, and more. Let's hear from him about Storm Cyber Risk Management, a holistic cyber GRC platform that enables organizations to map, manage, and maintain their cybersecurity posture.
Hi, everybody. Thank you for having me. After speaking today with some of you and after hearing some of the lectures, I decided to do something quite unusual. I'm not going to show this presentation because I think there's something more urgent. Cyber risk management is something that is a must. It's not something of that you can pass on. The idea behind cyber risk management is allowing decision makers to make well-informed decisions regarding their cybersecurity mitigation plans and their controls implementation, and therefore protecting whatever they have to protect, whether it's critical infrastructure, education, private organization, or the privacy of people in the streets. The main challenge that I see in the past 20 years of researching and helping organizations building their cyber risk management program is the lack of language and the lack of connection between the technology people or the IT people and the management and the decision makers. This gap, historically, I guess that this gap was formed based on the fact that most risk managers, most CISOs in the world today come from technology and they don't come from business management. And they lack the ability to identify the business processes of the organization that they work for. And therefore, they have a really huge gap in informing the managers and informing the decision makers on what is the potential implication of cyber risk posture to the organization. For example, I'm going to tell you a personal story from my background. I was a CISO of, at the time, one of the largest telco companies in Israel. And it was a time that location services started to show up on cell phones. This was much earlier to the current smartphones. I'm talking about 2005. I was called to speak to the board of directors to describe the risks of location-based services in telco industry. And what I presented was an Excel spreadsheet speaking about vulnerabilities and their technical names. And about 7 seconds later, I was out of the room and never called again. And I think this situation is happening today to a lot of CISOs and a lot of the security practitioners as they lack the language. And I think that based on what's been spoken about today in these sessions and what I've talked with people around here, I think this is still a huge gap, not only in Israel, but every country around the world. And I think that if we want to do something that will help us protect our future in terms of cybersecurity, we need to understand cyber risk management. we need to prioritize. In order to prioritize, we need to define strategy. We need to define assets. We need to understand the business implication of those assets being compromised by malicious organizations. And in order to do so, we need to create well-formed risk management programs that will be built upon asset management, asset mapping, controls identification, controls effectiveness, security assessments, vulnerability management. All those components must be part of the risk management program. And first of all, we need to identify what those vulnerabilities and what those controls and what those risk scenarios and threat, how those impact our business assets. In the last few years, I was honored to be part of a group that developed a risk management program for the Israeli government. And one of the gaps that we see that even if we define those strategies and methodologies on the government level, it is extremely hard to convince private organizations into adopting those methodologies. And I think one of the reasons that this process is so slow is that organizations in some countries, even if there is a very robust regulation regarding cyber risk management or cybersecurity, organizations tend to do the least possible in order to minimize their regulatory exposure. And I think one of the discussions that we need to make with those business managers is to make them understand that it's not enough to meet the regulation. We need to do something more. We need to have a social responsibility in order to protect not only the private business, because if we protect the private business, at the end, we protect our customers, we protect our infrastructure, and we protect people in country. Because if a private organization has a security incident that exposes tens of millions of private records, the people who get hurt the most are the people that their information was disclosed, and not the organization. We have seen in the last few years that even the most severe cybersecurity incidents don't tend to completely paralyze businesses. They don't tend to bankrupt businesses. They cause them damage. They cause them lack of being able to provide services for a limited amount of time, but they recover quite quickly because they have the funds. On the other hand, the people that got hurt, the people that suffered the real damage of their private data being exposed, their damage cannot be repaired. Their information cannot be undisclosed. It cannot happen. So I think in order for us to have a better tomorrow, if you want, we need not only to define the strategy, we need to be able to find what will make private organizations be more aware of the consequences of not being able to manage their security in the most efficient way there is. And I know that nothing we can do will ever prevent cyber criminals from succeeding in breaching organizations, but we can minimize the impact. And I think that's basically my message. And my apologies for not showing my presentation, but I think that this issue is more urgent than InnoSec selling another piece of software, which is related to cyber risk management. So if you want, I gave my pitch in another way. Thank you very much, and I wish us all a great success in this journey of increasing the cybersecurity posture of all of us. Thank you.